Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another episode of Shadows over Mordheim. This is a series of Mordheim battle reports, and this is battle report number 2 that is fought between my two friends, King Khalifa, who's bringing the Witch Hunters. He's bringing Malleus von Konigsmarck. At the same time, my other friend, Lady Dominant, is playing the Untamed Beasts of the Norse Marauders. And they're throwing it down in a defend the find scenario. So basically one of these teams will be exploring some ruins and excavating some weird stone, and another team will be trying to take them out and steal their stuff that they're trying to steal at the same time. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what each of the war bands is bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your leisure. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario rules of this one is defend the find. What ends up happening is that the two players take two roles, defender and attacker. The defender deploys within 6 inches of a target building that is right smack dab in the middle of the battlefield, and the attacker, of course, deploys within 6 inches of any table edge. The idea is that the defender must defend the building. If they win, they earn 1 shard of weird stone for each hero that's within inside the building, up to a maximum of 3 shards of weird stone. The attackers, of course, are trying to make them rout or voluntarily bottle out for the most part. For experience on this one, the winning leader gets 1 point of experience. Same thing with any fighter who survived the scenario also gets an experience. Plus, as always, any heroes that may take anybody out of action, they also earn an experience point as well. And that pretty much makes it the scenario rules for this one. So the scenario rules, let's go talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's the battle plan. As you can see there, my friends are fighting on a 4x4 table. King Khalifa's forces are deployed in the center of the table in that ruin right between the 3 standing stones. And then right in the near side of the table is where Lady Dominant has set up her Untamed Beasts. Now, unfortunately, I'm not playing in this game. I'm just taking photos for this one, so I'm not really sure what the battle plan for my friends are at this point. All I know is what they did and what I took pictures of for the most part. So you'll have to ask them what their plans were. So with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so starting off with the Untamed Beast on the left-hand side, that is Maya Beast Speaker. She is a Berserker who's equipped with a flail. She's also got the Seaman as well as Berserker skill. Right next to her on the right-hand side, that is Tinyet the First Fang. He is another Berserker. He's got a great weapon, Seaman as well as Berserker skills. And behind them is Varel Heart-Eater, who is the leader for this group. He's a Jarl. He's equipped with a helmet, shield, axe. He's got the Seaman skill as well as a leader skill as well. Next on the right-hand side, right smack in the middle, that is Ugla the Maw, which is a Wolfen. It's got claws and teeth. It's got the fear as well as bestial skills. And then right next to on the 3 right-hand side, those are 3 hunters. Those are Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya. All 3 are equipped exactly the same way. They're all equipped with twin axes as well as bows. And then right behind them on the left-hand side, we have Cliff Jaw, who's a bondsman who's equipped with a great weapon. He's got the Seaman skill, same with Cliff Skull, who's another bondman with the Seaman skill as well. And that pretty much makes up Lady Domina's deployment on this one. Alright, in the center of the battlefield is the planet from Malleus von Konigsmarck. This is the Witch Hunter warband that's played by my buddy King Khalifa. Up on the top there, you got, right there on the left-hand side, that is one of Gretchen's wenches, which is basically 2 warhounds, which are looking at the top of the screen. And right between them is Gretchen von Konigsmarck. She's a Witch Hunter. She's equipped with a pistol, a sword, as well as a Burn of the Witch ability. Right next to on the left-hand side with the corners there, as you can see, there's 3 bowmen with the corners. Those 3 guys are part of a team called Hilda's Heroes. The names are Meek, Johan, and Martins. All 3 are zealots who are equipped with knives as well as bows. In the center of the ruins on the left-hand side, that is Hildegard von Konigsmarck. She is a witch hunter. She's got a crossbow, knife, as well as a Burn of the Witch ability. In the center is Gregor von Konigsmarck. He is the witch hunter captain. He's equipped with great armor, great weapon rather. He's got a shield. He's also got the leader as well as Burn the Witch skill. And next on the right-hand side, that is Dieter Munz, which is a warrior priest. He's got an axe shield as well as prayers. The prayer he has for this one is called Healing Hands. And then right in front of them is Brunhilde von Konigsmarck. She's another witch hunter. She's equipped with a great weapon, shield, as well as the Burn of the Witch ability. And then right in front of her are 3 more zealots that are called Hilda's Heroes. those guys are basically those are Maximo, Jorgen, and Meeks. All three of those guys are armed with knives, spears, as well as shields. And that pretty much makes the deployment for the Malleus von Konigsmarck. So with the deployment over with, both King Khalifa and Lady Dom roll for initiative to see who will be going first. So that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and the Untamed Beasts get to go first on this one. So Lady Domina's Norse Marauders will be leading the charge. For the most part, she just going straight down the barrel, heading directly towards the Witch Hunters. It looks like she's using the standing stone there in the center of the battlefield in order to act as cover to support her troops while she moves forward. She pretty much runs with her berserkers, her bondsmen, as well as her Jarl, and does exactly the same thing with her Wolfen as well. So all those guys kind of move up their double moon allowance to move as quickly across the battlefield as they can, just trying to close the distance. Her 3 hunters, on the other hand, though, they kind of hang back. They move up their normal moon allowance, and the reason why is because they plan on doing some shooting with their bows here in a little bit as well, kind of laying down some overwatching fire. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase as well as recovery phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the bondsmen, berserkers, Jarl, as well as the Wolfen moving as quick as they possibly can, while the 3 hunters, Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya, they just kind of hang back a little bit, moving up their normal moon allowance, so that way they can start opening fire with some bow shots. And speaking of bow shots, actually got pretty good on this one. Actually took out one of those zealots out of action. I believe that guy's name is, what's his name? Martin's is his name. Oh, sorry, not Martin's. Maximo, that's his name. Maximo was the guy who just basically got hit, got put out of action. When they rolled up to see if he recovered, made a full recovery, no problem whatsoever. Also managed to cause a knockdown result onto one of the Hildy's heroes. His name is Johan is his name. He's armed with a bow. So because at the kind of right-hand side of her team is kind of knocked down at this point. So pretty good long-range fire for some Norse Marauders. So with the end of the shooting phase, we skip combat phase. We go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Witch Hunters. Alright, so it takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Witch Hunters, and this photo is taken after the recovery and the movement phase. For the most part, what's his name? Maximo, he managed to get back on his feet again after being tagged, so that's right, because he just got a knockdown result for that one. At the same time, she also kind of, King Khalifa also kind of skirts his hunters around the left-hand side of the building to try to intercept the close combat Norsemen that are coming over from the left-hand side. Moves up Gretchen's Wenches as well as Gretchen von Konigsmarck, also moves up the remaining Spearmen as well as 2 of the Bowmen as well, so that way they can kind of cover the advance on the left-hand side. So here's a close-up of the movement that took place on the for King Khalifa's side. As you can see, Gretchen von Konigsmarck as well as Brunhilde von Konigsmarck, they march for the left-hand side. Same thing with Gretchen's Wenches, the 2 Warhounds. At the same time, the 2 remaining Spearmen as well as one of the archers moves up in order to intercept the Norse Marauders that are coming with their left-hand side. And since everybody advanced forward, there is no shooting phase, and since no one's engaged in close combat, we skip the combat phase and go directly to the top of turn number 2. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Norse Marauders, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. And as you can see in this photo, Lady Dama decides to commit right off the bat. She charges in her Wolfen as well as one of her berserkers. I believe actually both of her berserkers, actually, if I remember correctly. They go charge directly into their respective targets, attacking Brunhilde with the Wolfen as well as the 2 Spearmen with their 2 berserkers. And then right behind them is her Jarl. So because of that, he just kind of sticks right behind them in order to lend some support as well. At the same time, she also runs forward with her 2 bondsmen, Clefjaw and Cleft Skull. Both those guys run up forward, taking cover behind that shack as well as a standing stone, and then she takes her 300s and moves them up their normal move allowance, so that way they can land some long-range overwatching fire. So you can see here's a close-up of her fighters on the left-hand side. That's Tenyet First Fang. Right in the center there, that is Mayim Beast Speaker. And up in the top, on the right-hand side, that is Ugla the Maw. And you can see there that Veril Heart Eater is located right behind them, lending some support as well. So these guys also have Frenzy as well, so they do get additional attacks. So that part is also terrifying to face against. And there's a close-up of Cleft Jaw as well as Cleft Skull moving up behind the standing stone in the building to use as cover. At the same time, you can see Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya moving in to land some long-range fire with their longbows. Unfortunately for them, though, when they open up with their longbows, with their bows. When they open up with their bows, not much really happened. They kind of flub their rolls for hits and wounds, so because of that, nothing much really happens. So we skip the shooting phase and go directly to combat. And combat proved to be pretty brutal for the Witch Hunters in this one. Actually, it was ended up that Tenyet First Fang match put a knockdown result on actually one of the Spearmen. Whereas at the same time, though, Mayim Beast Speaker, though, she put a stun result on the other Spearmen. And same thing with Ugla the Maw, managed to stun Brunhilde von Konigsmarck, which is a really bad spot for her to be in, because in the next round of combat, if she doesn't recover quickly, these guys could just be destroyed and be defenseless at the same time in close combat, which is a really risky proposition to be in. And that pretty much makes the combat phase on this one. So with that, that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Witch Hunters, and this photo is taken after the recovery phase as well as the movement phase. For those guys who are stunned, they were knocked down, they get back on their feet again. Those who are stunned are now knocked down. For the most part, movement pretty much remains the same. The only real dramatic move that took place is that 2 of the archers move over to the right-hand side so that we could target the 2 bondsmen. At the same time, the Witch Priest, he also moves up his normal movement allowance to go right behind the combat there on the left-hand side, so that way he can lend some magical support, looks like. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase, as well as the recovery phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Spearmen getting back on their feet again, as well as Grinch's Winches charging directly into the Berserkers to engage those guys in close combat. As you can see, too, Grinch von Konigsmarck, as well as one of the Zealots with the bow, they charge directly into Ugla the Mod, to kind of keep him busy. At the same time, you can see the Warrior Priest kind of sneak up behind them, to lend some magical support. Meanwhile, here's a close-up of the right-hand side with 2 more archers from the Zealots moving up so that way they can start engaging with some long-range shooting directly into Cleft Jaw as well as Cleft Skull. And that pretty much makes up the movement phase for this one. So with the movement phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And during the shooting phase, probably the most dramatic moment of all is when Dieter Moons decided to use his Healing Hands ability on Brunhilde von Konigsmarck. She instantly gets back on her feet again, so that way she can engage in close combat against Ugla the Maw, which is actually pretty good for her, so that way she doesn't get destroyed. The other 2 spearmen, though, are not so lucky, but at the same time, though, these berserkers are also facing its warhounds, which is pretty much terrifying on its own prospect as well. For the rest of the shooting phase, the other 2 archers open up directly into the Berserkers and manage to kill Cleftjaw right off the bat. Cleftjaw gets shot right in the skull, ends up with a dead result, so because of that, he is eliminated off the roster of the Untamed Beasts. At the same time, they also manage to get a stunned result off onto Cleft's skull, knocking him off his feet as he goes crashing face down to the ground, bleeding out. And that part is pretty demoralizing right off the bat. The very first kill of our campaign has just been achieved. And in the combat phase, oh my god, all kinds of madness occurred during the combat phase. Let's go and talk about that real quick. So first of all, one of Grinch's Winches managed to take out Tenyet Firstfang, the Berserker. Managed to put him out of action. And luckily for Lady Dama, though, he makes a full recovery, so nothing much really happens there from there as well. At the same time, while that's taking place, I believe Mayan, was her name, Beast Speaker, she managed to put a knockdown result directly onto one of Grinch's Witches as well. So actually managed, oh sorry, not knockdown result, put him out of action. There you go. So because of that, Warhammer will be going out of action as well. We made a full recovery, so nothing much is really bothered from that. Now, Gretchen von Konigsmarck, though, she managed to finish off Ugla the Maw, but not before he was able to finish off Brunhilde von Konigsmarck. He actually gave her the, what's it called, resilient injuries when he ended up doing for the most part on that one. So because of that, she is now immune, resilient, hardened, there we go. Managed to put a hardening injury on her, so because of that, she is now immune to fear, because she just basically looked death in the face and survived no problem. But Gretchen von Konigsmarck, though, she managed to pull a shot from her pistol directly into Ugla the Maw, puts him out of action as well. But luckily for him, though, he makes a full recovery, no problem. So as you can see here, just a bunch of dead bodies taking place on the left-hand side of the battlefield. So that being said, that takes directly to the top of turn number 4 from the Norse Marauders, and this photo is taken after recovery as well as the movement phase. And once again, Lady Dama just keeps on pressing the attack. She decides to charge in her leader, Varel Hearteater, who goes directly into the downed spearman so they can finish him off in close combat as well. At the same time, she also moves up her 3 hunters, Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya. They move up so that they get a bit closer so that way they can start doing some shooting with their bows. And that pretty much makes it the movement phase on this one. So here's a close-up of Varel Hearteater going engage with one of the other fallen spearmen on the left-hand side. And you can see that Mayim Beast Speaker still currently engaged with one of her spearmen as well. And here's a close-up of Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya, moving up the normal allowance so that way they can start opening up with some bow fire directly into the zealots across from them. So with the movement phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. And the shooting phase ended up working out really well for Lady Domina. I believe it was Makat was the one who actually managed to get a critical hit off on one of the archers on the left-hand side. Managed to put that guy directly out of action. And the combined fire from Shuya as well as Shroya, they managed to knock off the last wound necessary for the other zealot there on the right-hand side. And he also gets an out-of-action result as well. So pretty much a very successful round of shooting for the Untamed Beasts. And in the combat phase, Mayim Beast Speaker had no problem finishing off the last of the spearmen, managed to put him out of action result as well, and same thing with Varel Hearteater, had no problem taking out the last spearman too. So because of that, things are not looking very good for my friend King Khalifa at this point. So because they go to end of the turn, we go to King Khalifa. Unfortunately for him, though, he had to take a leadership test, and unfortunately he failed that leadership test, rolling a 6 and a 4, rolling a 10 result on that one. So because of that, Malleus von Konigsmarck does bottle out, and they are routed, and that pretty much brings the end of the battle report. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That takes directly to the end of the game, with a victory being won by the Norse Marauders on this one. So Lady Domina has won her very first game of Mordheim. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report and talk about the post game, because this battle report is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, so let's go and talk about the post-game real quick. So start with Malleus von Konigsmarck. Further injuries. Brunhilde von Konigsmarck, she went out of action, but she suffered a hardened injury, which means that she's completely immune to fear, which kind of makes sense considering she got mauled by a wolf and managed to survive, which is actually kind of funny. And then, of course, all 6 zealots, Maximo, Jorgen, Meeks, Johann Martins, as well as one of Gretchen's witches, they actually managed to survive with their out-of-action results, so they make full recovery, and they will be able to participate in the next battle report. For advancements, none of the members of Malleus von Konigsmarck actually advanced this time around, so nothing much really happened there. During the exploration phase, though, they did manage to find 3 shards of weird stone as well as a corpse, and managed to get 65 gold pieces off of him. All said together, though, they managed to earn 60 gold pieces, which they used to purchase light armor from Brunhilde, Gretchen, as well as Hildegard von Konigsmarck. So now all 3 witch hunters are packing light armor for that part as well. Their new record now is at 0 wins as well as 1 loss, and their new warband rating is at 129 points. So up next we have the Untamed Beasts. Unfortunately for Lady Domina, she did lose one of her bondsmen. His name is Cleftjaw. He ended up getting killed. However, Tignat First Fang, he made a full recovery, no problem, so that Berserker is completely fine. And Ugla the Maw also managed to survive as well, earning horrible scars, which is really not all that important because Ugla the Maw already causes fear as a wolfen, so you know, this is kind of a benign injury at this point. For advancements, none of the members of her warband did advance at this point. However, during her exploration, Lady Domina did find 2 shards of weird stone, which netted her 50 gold pieces, as well as discovering the ruins of an old tavern, earning her 15 gold pieces from that as well. That gave her a grand total of 65 gold pieces, of which she used to hire a new bondsman named Shanked as his name. They equipped him with a great weapon as well as a shield, and they purchased shields from Mayan Beast Speaker, Tignat First Fang, Cleft Skull, Makat, Shuya, as well as Shroya. Her new record now is at 1 win and 0 losses, and her new warband rating is at 105 points. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.